Hi, I'm Aaron Sadoff, Senior Applications Scientist at LI-COR Biosciences. Today, I'll be talking about user constants and user variables and how they can help you calculate new variables in your dataset or help you annotate your dataset in the LI-6800.
First, let's talk about what remarks are. They're a row of text that will be stored in your data file. They are only available or active when a log file is open. Some examples are plant number 3 was damaged, field conditions are very dry, plants are stressed, or ignore log number 8, bad reading. Please note that in Microsoft Excel files, the remark is stored in the Remarks tab. For text data files, the remark may be stored at the header or in line with the measurements. Also, remarks always contain timestamps so that it's easier to associate a remark with a particular time or log event. Here we will show how remarks are added to the data file. The log remarks functionality can be accessed under the Log Setup tab at the top level. Then, if a log file is already open on the instrument as it is here, you can select and use the Log Remark side tab. To enter a remark, simply select the gray box and enter your text. Once the text is entered, press the Done key on the keyboard and then click the green Log Remark button. The remark is now added to your data file. Now we'll talk about user constants in the LI-6800. User constants and variables are user-defined fields that get logged to a data file. They generally appear as a column in your data file, although they can also be placed in the data file header and in data rows if desired. Note that when creating or editing user constants or user variables, log files must be closed on the instrument. User variables are a user-defined, calculated variable that appears in the data file. The user must enter a formula for the variable in order for it to be calculated. Some examples of user constants include plot number, species type, and treatment number. An example of a user variable is intrinsic water use efficiency, which is defined as CO2 assimilation divided by stomatal conductance. Next, we will show how user constants and variables are entered into the LI-6800. User constants and variables are located under the Constants main tab at the top of the screen and then through the User side tab at the bottom left. To add or edit user constants, you will need to check the Edit Reorder box at the top center of the screen. I'll now show how to add a simple user constant called species. First, select Add, and then select the new constant definition that appears on the screen. Once selected, press the Edit button. This will bring up a screen where you can set up and define the user constant. First, I'll set the name to species. Since this will be a user constant, the type must be set to user constant and not computed variable. The description box is optional, but it can be useful for identifying what a particular constant or variable does. Here, I'll add a short description called species type. For the Logged As option, I'm selecting column since it is more convenient to have species type in a column with each logged record. For the Set Values From option, I'm going to use Select From List. To create my list, I use the green plus button to add options to a list. I'll add 3 options here: corn, soy, and sunflower. Once the list options are added, click the green Save button, which completes setting up the user constant. Now we'll add a numeric user constant called treatment. This type of constant may be useful to assign numerical values to treatment types, which is commonly done when data is analyzed using general linear models in statistical programs. Again, select Add, then highlight the new constant that appears, then select Edit. I'll name the new constant treatment and keep the type set to user constant. I'll leave the description box blank, but this could be filled in if desired. The logged as option will once again be left as column. This time, however, the Set Values option will use the keyboard number pad option, and a default value will be set to 99. The default value is optional, but it is useful as a marker to indicate if a treatment number was entered. The treatment user constant setup is now complete. I will click Save at the bottom of the screen. First, a brief note about intrinsic water use efficiency. Intrinsic water use efficiency is a way to relate carbon gain to water loss through transpiration. For gas exchange measurements, intrinsic water use efficiency is the preferred way of doing this, and it is calculated by dividing leaf CO2 assimilation by stomatal conductance to water vapor. The scaling factor of 10,000 or 1 million is used to ensure unit consistency between assimilation and stomatal conductance to water vapor. 10,000 is used when intrinsic water use efficiency is expressed on a percent basis, and 1 million is used when it's expressed as a direct ratio. Now, I'll go over how to create a user variable that calculates intrinsic water use efficiency on the LI-6800. In order to add intrinsic water use efficiency as a user variable, you will again select Add, highlight the new constant that appears, and then select Edit. I'll name this user variable IWUE, and this time, for the type, I will select Computed Variable. In the description box, I'll add intrinsic water use efficiency. The next step is to select a numerical format. Depending upon the scale of the value that you are calculating, this step can involve a little bit of trial and error. In this case, I'm going to select exponential and have 3 digits displayed. Now we need to define the variables that will be used in the equation. The first variable will be CO2 assimilation. To add a variable, press the small green plus key to the left of the variable box. Then press the blue variable bar, which will allow you to select the specific variable you want. CO2 assimilation is found under the GasX group. So I will expand the GasX group and look for CO2 assimilation. Once the variable is found, I now will select Apply. This process is then repeated to add stomatal conductance, which is also found under the gas X group. A coefficient also needs to be added to the equation. Since this calculation for intrinsic water use efficiency is a percentage, we need a coefficient of 10,000. We will add the coefficient of 10,000 by selecting the green plus button over by the coefficients box, and then we will select the empty box, type in 10,000, and then press Done. The final step is to specify the equation. Select the box to the right of equation and type in V1 divided by A1 times V2. Once the equation is entered, I'll press Done. We are finished. Now, I'll press the green Save button at the bottom of the screen to save the user calculation for intrinsic water use efficiency. Note that it is possible to add a user variable to the measurements display screen of the LI-6800. To do this, you will need to select the screen where you would like the user variable to be displayed. Then select Edit Grid and search for the user def var group, which is where user-defined variables are located. Expand this group and then select the user-defined calculation that you wish to add to the measurements display. Once selected, press the Close button. The user-defined calculation is now added to the display.
I hope you found this video useful. If you would like to find additional resources, please consult our technical support website where you can find additional videos as well as the owner manual for the LI-COR LI-6800. Additionally, you can contact LI-COR technical support directly or the distributor in your country.